In this video, we're going to show you how to install the knock sensor on your Hyundai Elantra located behind your intake manifold. When starting this project, you want to raise the vehicle up in the air and you want to remove the plastic splash shield underneath here. Our vehicle doesn't have it, but when you go to remove yours, you're going to come across to the back cross member here. There's going to be 1, 2, 3 bolts that are probably 12 or 13 millimeter. Then there's going to be a series of plastic push pins. There's going to be 3 here. And then there's going to be a series across the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there's 3 more over here. 1, 2, 3. Once you remove those there, drop down that splash shield. With the hood open, go ahead and lift up on your engine cover here. Set that aside. I'm going to remove our upper intake area here for the air filter box. It's going to be 2 clips. Undo these 2 clips and follow this back. I'm going to lift this up and out. Now if you follow this back here, I want to go ahead and remove this hose. I'm going to use our pliers. Slide that back. Give it a little twist and work that hose off. And if we follow this hose back to the throttle body, there's going to be a hose clamp on that. You can use either an 8 millimeter socket or your Phillips head screwdriver. You want to get to the clamp down here. Go ahead and loosen that. And then you should be able to go ahead and lift this up and wiggle that off the throttle body. Here is a clamp right here. Go ahead and set that aside. Separate this electrical connector. I'm going to push in on this little tab. Wiggle that off. And if you follow this down, you're normally going to have a little plastic retainer right here holding that harness. So I'm going to use my trim tool to go ahead and release that. There it is. Now to the right of the intake manifold, you're going to look at your map sensor here. You want to loosen or separate the connector. You're going to push in on this tab. You're going to use a pick. Now from the intake manifold, you can see this hose coming up and around. It's easier for us to access the hose clamp here. Give this a little twist and then pull this off. On our fuel injection harness right here where it attaches to the intake, there's going to be little plastic retainers. There's going to be a tab on each side. I'm going to use a pocket screwdriver. Push on one side. I'm going to try and work this up and out. Do the same over here. Now this harness right here, we need to separate that from the intake. So I have a finger underneath and there's 2 little tabs. There's one on each side, on this side over here, and there's one on this side over here. You're going to push in with your finger, and I'm going to just use my hose pliers just to gently pull up on the harness. I can feel one side of that tab release and then go to the other side. And there it is. There's that tab. So you can see I was pushing on each side of that there to release that. We'll spin that back around. We're going to go ahead and remove our throttle body from the intake. There are 4 10 millimeter bolts holding it in place. Your other option is to go ahead and separate the 2 coolant tubes from the throttle body. However, you're going to lose coolant there. Going to remove our bolts. Our bolts do have washers on them, so we want to make sure that those come off with the bolts. I'm going to gently wiggle this and pop it off. Just above where the throttle body is, there's another component right here. There's an electrical connector. There's a tab right here you're going to pinch and pull that connector off. And we just disconnected that connector. Now we have two hoses coming off the back side of our intake, just to the right of where the throttle body was. One goes to our canister purge valve solenoid, and the other one comes up to this upper portion here. We're gonna remove the upper one just using some pliers, get up underneath here, pinch that clamp, slide it back. I'm gonna use our hose pliers to get in there. Get a little twist and slide that off. Use your pliers. Slide this clamp back here. Use our hose pliers to go ahead and twist that off of our solenoid. Note the splash shield removed. We can come up here on the bottom side of our intake, and there's a plastic retainer on this harness. Go ahead and pop that out. We're going to go ahead and repeat that process for the other one just to the left. We're now going to go ahead and remove the 3 12mm bolts and the 2 12mm nuts on our intake. I'm going to start from our inside. Now at this point, a magnet is going to come in handy. Go ahead and grab your hardware. Now on the front side here, it was a short bolt, goes on the front side of the engine area. Nut, long bolt, nut, long bolt. Now from underneath here, we have our oil pressure switch. We have the wire harness that comes up, and it follows right up to a bracket up here. There's a 12mm bolt that goes into the bottom portion of our intake manifold. We're gonna use our deep socket and a swivel head ratchet. We wanna go ahead and get in there and loosen and remove that bolt. You could probably use a regular ratchet and a swivel head socket if you have that. I'm going to remove that bolt. Now that bracket comes down and bolts to the side of the engine here. I'm going to go ahead and loosen this bolt. Now we're not going to remove it. We want to loosen it and see if we can get some flexibility out of this bracket. There it is. We can see that that bracket is loose and it drops down away from the intake manifold, and it gives us a little flexibility to go ahead and wiggle that intake up and out. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect our expansion tube here. Our radiator cap fitting right here. We need to go ahead and loosen it with the 2 10mm bolts. Go ahead and set those bolts aside. I'm going to take this unit and we want to pull this back and over. I'm going to use a securing strap to go ahead and anchor this off on the side somewhere. Now we can go ahead and grab that intake, wiggle it and pull it towards you. Work that up and out. Set that aside. Now our wiring harness attaches to this bracket right here. So you got to use a pick, and on the back side there's going to be a small little hole that you're going to push in on and slide this off. So what you're doing is you're releasing the clip that's right here. Open that up, wiggle that off. If you follow that harness up, there's just a little retainer right here holding us to the block. Pull that off. And right here, we have a 12mm bolt holding the knock sensor. Remove that. Good, and take that harness, drop it down behind here. Good, and grab your bolt, put that through. We're going to gently snug that. Now we're going to go ahead and grab our torque wrench, and we want to torque this down to 17.4 foot-pounds. Torquing this is critical to the operation of the component. With that torqued in place, go ahead and install the retainer onto that stud down below. Reconnect your connector. Slide it back onto the bracket. And what we're going to do is protect the inside of our engine by placing rags inside here. You can use paper towels if you have those there. Do this for all 4 ports. And the reason why we're doing this here is that we do want to clean the face of the cylinder head here, and we don't want debris to fall down inside the engine. So do this carefully. I'll go ahead and take another rag. I'm going to use some spray solvent on the rag. I'm going to wipe down around the perimeter here. Next thing we want to do is grab that intake manifold. And what we want to do is inspect the intake manifold here. We have a gasket. It's shown here in orange. And we want to go ahead and inspect that. We want to make sure that it's, number one, if you run your finger over the top of it, you want to make sure the gasket is sticking out further than the plastic itself. Now, if it feels like that gasket is sinking down inside or it is flush, you need to go ahead and replace these gaskets. In our case here, our gasket seems fine all the way around. It is a reusable gasket in most cases. Wipe this off. We also want to go ahead and inspect the side where the throttle body goes into. So go ahead and spin this around. Spray a little bit of solvent on a rag and go ahead and wipe down here. You can see that there is a gasket on here as well. We want to do the same thing here. Okay. Now at this point, go ahead and we can remove the rags. Now we can lower down our intake. Line up those two studs on the top. Make sure our hoses are in the clear on the side. Check our wiring harnesses. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and get the hardware started. I'm going to put the nut inside the socket, guide that down inside, spin that in. Remember, the one short bolt goes on the front side here, right above the alternator. Followed by the other two long ones, the center, and then the right side. I'm going to go ahead and gently snug these down. All right, just bottom it out. You don't want to tighten it much more than that. Snug that. Snug. Now there is going to be a torque and a sequence for these bolts, so that's why we just want to get these bottomed out. We're now going to go ahead and torque down our hardware to 17.4 foot-pounds. It's going to be the top nut first on the left. Over to the second nut. Over to the lower short bolt on the far left. Center bolt. And the lower right bolt. And just go back and double check one more time. And go ahead and get the bolt started through the bracket into the lower portion of the manifold. I'm going to go ahead and thread that in as far as I can. I'm going to gently snug that down with my ratchet. All right, once that bottoms out, just give it a little bit more. If you have the ability to do so, you want to get and torque that down to 17.4 foot-pounds as well. Once this bolt is tightened and torqued, you can go ahead and tighten down the lower bolt here, holding the bracket to the engine itself. Once that bottoms out, go ahead and make sure it's good and tight. So once it bottoms out, just give it a little bit more. And right here, go ahead and install that retainer right here. You can do the same for the one just to the left of it over here. Once you're done installing those plastic retainers, let's move back up top. Install the retainer here. Install your map sensor connector. You're going to hear and feel it engage right here. And disconnect our securing strap and bring this over. Let's go ahead and get our bolts started. Once we get both of those started, we can go ahead and zip those down. Just snug them down gently. bottomed out. That's plenty sufficient. Snug, that's good. Go ahead and grab that hose. Slide that back onto that port right on the side there. Go ahead and install your throttle body. Gonna line that up. Just gonna gently snug these down. I'm gonna do this in a crisscross pattern. Torque down the throttle body bolts to 8.7 foot-pounds. Do this in your crisscross pattern. Go ahead and work your PCV valve hose up underneath and back onto the valve cover. Go ahead and move that clamp back up into position, securing that hose. I'm going to go ahead and install our purge valve hose right here. Now, the easy way to slide these on, go ahead and give that hose a quick spray with some spray solvent. And these will normally slide right up and on. Perfect. Go ahead and slide that clamp up into position. And we'll go ahead and do the upper hose here and do the same. Make sure that goes all the way up and on. We have our electrical connector right here. Don't forget to line that up and push that on. You're going to hear and feel it lock into position. Install the connector right here. Push it on, you're going to hear it and feel it click in. And if you follow the harness down, it has that little plastic retainer we had popped off earlier. Just simply reinstall that, pop that into place, holding that harness up out of the way. Secure your fuel injection harness. Install your air filter lid and intake tube. Push that onto the throttle body. On the back side of our air box here, there's going to be two tabs that lock into the base. Push it down and then secure your clips. Let's go ahead and use our Phillips head screwdriver. I want to go ahead and tighten down that hose. I do want to make sure that that is good and snug. We don't want to have any vacuum leaks there. Once that's secure, come on over, grab the hose here, line that up and slide that on there. I want to go ahead and grab your pliers. Slide that down, secure that. Now I want to go ahead and install our engine cover. There's going to be 4 rubber grommets and 4 posts on top of the engine. There's 2 right on the intake here. So simply line those up with your fingers. Once you have those lined up, the 2 back ones automatically line up. Push it down. If you have the under engine splash guard, install that next. Now, if you happen to have a check engine light due to that knock sensor being faulty, go ahead and use a scan tool and properly clear that code. Then you can go for a road test.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.